let us know, and we can send you the recording. But again, welcome, and we look forward to having a good 1 hour session here. I'm Ziya Muhamedcani with the Madison Company. We're for those who do not know, we're a global sales training, sales consulting company. We've been doing this for approximately 30 years. We do training programs. We consult. We do key account management programs, training programs, Salesforce effectiveness, sales manager training, and what we really focus on is down at the sales level. And it's important that we do something along those lines, because instead of working with theory, we talk with real practicalities. But that's a little bit about myself, my company. And Mel, at this point, maybe you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. Thanks very much. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Sounds
okay.
Good.
All right. Good. Mel Harding from Oculus Inc. We are a sales analysis company, and what we do is we apply artificial intelligence and a number of other leading edge technologies to analyzing sales opportunities. And specifically in working with Ziya in his efforts, and as we go through this, it'll become clear how we work together and how things fit. So Ziya, I'll pass it back to you, and you can lead us through this.
All right, thanks, Mel, and feel free to jump in any time today. It's a coordinated effort between the two of us. One thing I want to let everybody know about Mel. He's a little bit humble. He's a computer science major. He got his degrees, and he's also a physicist. So he does a lot of analysis, and he's good at that. And the other thing is he was also a salesman and a sales trainer for a long, long time. So that combination really, is a very, very good combination for developing the software, etc., and working with this. I'm very, very fortunate. Mel and I are working together, and we have a good product that we can introduce to you all the time. But before we get there, let's just talk about what the economy is and what's happening right now. And I'm sure a lot of you all are in the business world, so we know economy is going up or it's going down. Again, everybody has a different take on what's going on. However, one thing is for certain is that we've had a good run the last 4, 5, 6 years in the economy. And however, things in certain parts of the world, like in Germany, in China, are starting to slow down. U.S. still seems to be holding its own. However, there's a lot of uncertainty. There's, again, going up or going down. Nobody really knows what's going to happen. And this is where we really want to focus in on, in times of uncertainty, what's happening. So instead of, if it's a down economy or a flat economy, what do you do? Do you just keep the status quo, or do you look for something else? And when we started talking together with Mel about, doing this webinar, this was really the focus of, what to do in an uncertain economy. And one of the things we came up with, we're focusing in on, is really talking about opportunity or deal scoring. And we'll get into that a little bit more, and how this can help you to increase, your sales. And it's something that we can talk about in more detail. But let's just take a look at what's going on in the background in the B2B world. And can everybody see, my slides right now? I hope they're changing very well. I think they're okay. Yeah, it's okay. All right, good. All right. Yeah. So if we look at something like this, again, it's just a slide from CSO Insights. And CSO Insights is an arm of Miller Heiman. I'm sure that a lot of you are familiar with strategic selling and spin selling and all that. They're the owners of that. And CSO Insights is the research arm of Miller Heiman. And what they've been doing over the last 10, 15 years is a lot of research on, what happens in the sales department, sales organizations. And one of the interesting things that's happened in sales over the last 5 years, despite having the economy going up, is, we can take a look at these charts, and you can see one thing from starting from, the red line, the salespeople making quota. If you look at it from 2013 to 2018, it's gone down. All right. And the other thing is, if you want to look at the loss rate, which is the yellow chart, the loss rate has gone up. So it's trending in the wrong direction. And on top of that, decision making as far as customers, the black line is going down. And despite all of that, what's happening is the win rate, which is basically the rate where salespeople will put down into the forecast and say, all right, this is what we're going to deliver. It stayed flat. And I'll get into a little bit more of the detail of this. But what tells you, if you look at this chart over the last 5 years in a booming economy, things are not trending the right way. The win rate should be going up. Salespeople should be making more quotas. What this really talks about is inefficiencies. Salespeople are, probably, they're into more deals in the pipeline. They're running after more deals. They're losing more deals. At the same time, less and less are achieving quota, and that's not a good trend. So the inefficient selling activities of what's happening right now, it's really not, what you're doing right now, or a lot of salespeople doing right now, are probably not in the best interest of what's happening. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One of the main reasons is they're doing the same thing over and over again with the same type of tools. But again, if we look at, for example, forecast accuracy, and the interesting thing here is there's CSO research again, and there's another group called the RAIN Group, and the RAIN Group is they do a lot of sales training, consulting, and a lot of research, and they're very very both well respected and good organizations when they do research regarding sales. But here's the funny thing. Both come up with the same, from different methodologies, come up with the same results. For example, for every 10 deals your team is forecasted to close, you putting into the forecast, in other words, for this quarter, I'm going to forecast to close this, 50 deals or 20 deals or whatever. They'll only close 50 of them. Now, I don't know how in your organizations the numbers stack up, but this has been pretty consistent in all the research that we've read, we've seen. About 5 in 10 or 50% is really the win rate. And this is, again, when you put it into the forecast, as compared to the close rate or the success rate. And this is whatever the opportunities are in the pipeline. So at the beginning of the year, you put all these numbers in, and you've got salespeople. If you look at these numbers, and again, these are all CSO Insight, Accenture, everybody knows, Cirrus Decisions, RPM, GI, and Oculus. It looks like it's only about 20 to 25%. So 1 in 4 deals and 1 in 5 deals really is closed at the very, if you go from the very beginning. Again, I just want to clarify, the win rate is when you forecast it that they're committing. So at the end of this quarter, I'm sure your salespeople are saying, okay, I'm going to close this amount. At the beginning of the quarter, they say that, and by the end of the quarter, maybe it's about 50%. This success or close rate here, we're talking about here, is we're talking about at the beginning of the year, or when you're looking at whatever is in the pipeline, in your CRM, you're only going to close about 20 to 25%. And at this point, I just want to have Mel jump in and expand on how Oculus came up with the 21%. So Mel, you want to just talk a little bit about how you went around and got this information here?
Sure, happy to. The way we measure things is to eliminate any kind of subjectivity or interpretation. And basically, the way we measured it is that deals that were put in the CRM. And the assumption is that if there's an opportunity or a deal put in the CRM, the salesperson is going to pursue it. And so the way we measured it was the first day of the quarter listed all the deals that were in the CRM, and we did it at a team level, not necessarily at an individual sales person level, but a team or a group. And then at the end of the quarter, we went back and looked at which ones were won. And the number here, 21%, is the average of 5 different tests we did on this. And what we found is consistently, the salespeople are winning 1 in 5 deals that they are pursuing. Now, they forecast differently, as Ziya has rightly pointed out. And the win rate on forecasted deals is 50%. But the win rate on deals that are pursued is 20 or say 23%, use the Sears Decisions number. And again, there's a consistency across a number of different research companies, and these are all well recognized and well respected organizations. Okay, Ziya?
Okay, great, thanks. And I think, again, the consistency is kind of amazing to me when I looked at something like this. But it really begs the question, why? What happens? What's the reason? And, whether this is a conclusion or whether it's an observation, it's really, we believe that the sales reps are just spending too much time and they're pursuing the deals that they can't win or won't close in the quarter. And again, being a salesman myself and still selling, even at this age, at going over 40 years. And, I'm still very, very optimistic, maybe too optimistic on a lot of things. So that's one of it. One point that, that's happens. Or else, also the other thing is, we're using too much time, as I said, on, chasing the wrong type of deals. So does that mean that the salespeople are bad, that they're not, working hard or anything? No, the answer is no, not really. The real problem is that the salespeople are chasing, is not that the salespeople are chasing bad deals, but because, nobody really wants to chase bad deals. And I think everybody would agree with that. We don't do that, on purpose. The problem is that salespeople, and especially sales managers, whether it's time or whether it's lack of skills or tools or methods, whatever. And here's the key point, cannot identify the bad deals early enough in the sales process. So what happens is, you're going to be chasing the bad deals over and over and over again for a long period of time. And then finally, at the very end, you say, okay, well, you can't close this deal. So that's really the major problem. And the key word here is that it's early enough in the sales process. So how do you go about, making sure that that doesn't happen? Well, in a good economy, it's been going well. So even with that, you have a lot of deals that you're chasing, that you're going after. But in a bad economy, when there's a downturn, so what are you going to do? So how will this impact your win rate when it, becomes a problem, in the market, not growing as much? So what do you do? Well, what you do is what every sales consultant or management, consultant or trainer says, focus on the winnable deals and drop the bad deals. Well, it's easy to say. And everybody says that, but the question is how. And here, what happens in a lot of situations, the question of how becomes, okay, let's just go back to the default. Let's go back to CRM. Let's go back because we have a forecasting methodology and we've been using the CRM and, it's got the opportunities line, and let's just, go through, is our deal that's 40%, 50%, 70%, and see what happens. But if you really take a step back and you really look at this, you find out that, okay, this is what we're doing right now. And we're only closing 50%. So, is that what we really want to do, especially when it becomes a little bit more untenable situation, if the economy is a little uncertain or things are going bad? Or even with things are going well, do you want to just stay at 50%? Again, it comes back to how to do it, and that's the real key element. And if we really look at this, is there a solution? And is there really a way of doing it? And the answer is yes, if you really think about it. And if we want to look at lead scoring, I'm sure most of you are aware with what lead scoring is. It really points the way. Lead scoring is a way of ranking, leads, so that we can get, any type of a suspects or initial leads and rank them depending on, what's valuable to the organization, or what are the criteria for the organization, whether it's a buyer profile or whether it's, product purchase patterns or consumer habits, whatever you want to identify, so that you can identify which suspects or the initial inputs into your CRM that are, more highly prioritized or ranked at a higher, so you get a scoring. And it's interesting that another very, very, good group called the Aberdeen Company, they looked at lead scoring, and this is a study that was done about 4 or 5 years ago, I believe. And they looked at the prioritization study, and what they've found is that taking lead scoring and using this as a methodology what you find is that the suspects become prospects at a higher rate. In other words, about 19 to 20% increase in lead conversions. So there is a method for just leads coming in and how to quantify and qualify them to make sure that it's a more efficient way that salespeople. So marketing gets these, they go through them, they run them through different lead scoring methodologies or different criteria. And then once they hit a certain number, they pass them over to salespeople so that the salespeople are not wasting their time running after every single lead that comes in. So this is one way of improving the efficiency and making sure that salespeople are spending better time behind some of these the activities behind better leads. So if you want to look at that, Mel, you're more familiar with the Aberdeen study. You want to chime in on this one?
Sure, happy to. Yes, when you look at the study itself, the actual study is called Lead Scoring and Prioritization Study, and what they talked about was that a properly configured lead scoring tool, which identifies the elements that are important to the company. So every company, it's unique to every company. A lot of commonality, as you can imagine. What they found was that you could get an improved prospect to suspect conversion ratio of anywhere up to about 19%. So, pretty good results. And I know for a fact that some of them, Microsoft uses lead scoring, and so a number of big companies do as well. The point is that scoring, companies are using them, and they work if they're done right.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the interesting thing here is, thanks, Mel. And the interesting thing is, we have scoring in our lives everywhere we go. If we really think about it, because we're being scored. We use scoring all the time. We talked about assessments of scorings are used for everything in today's world. If you really think about it, we talked about lead scoring for sales, but let's look at employee assessments. What is it really? It really is a scoring system. And we've all gone through these employee assessments of having all these questions asked, the 300 questions or whatever the heck it is to see what type of person we are, or all these different tests. And even eHarmony, our matchmaking service, that's really using a scoring system when you fill in the blanks to the questions that they have, and that's what's being measured really is the fit. What type of a fit is the employee, the potential employee, going to be in this organization or this couple. Or this lead that is in front of your table. What type of fit is that for our organization? And the reason that we're doing that is really to maximize the chance of success, whether it's success in the company or matchmaking situation. We're trying to get a success. So scoring is used all the time, and it's a very, very good system. It's a very, very exact. I don't want to call it exact science, but at least it gives you a better chance of success. So if we really look at this, then what can we do? Well, we can look at opportunity or deal scoring. Going one step further from lead scoring, next is going to opportunity or deal scoring, because can we apply the same concepts of to opportunities or deals as sales reps, so that they're just working on the deals that are a better fit for the organization? And the answer is absolutely yes. So this is, there are some companies out there that are using opportunity or deal scoring. However, what we would like to introduce you to at this point is the Oculus opportunity and deal scoring. And why Oculus at this point in time, and what are some of the differentiating points of this? The interesting thing about Oculus, it goes into a lot of detail in each deal, and it gives you a brighter insight. So it's not just a 30,000 foot view, it just goes into a lot of details. So Oculus really is looking at, it's a state-of-the-art AI-based opportunity deal scoring system. And it'll just score, again, it's scoring your opportunities and then ranking them. And then allowing to identify which deals you can focus on or push into the next quarter. And it's a really, really simple system. So again, You're looking at a ranking of the deals after you go through, the questionings and finding out, what you want to find out about the deal, whether it's an A, F, or A, B, or an F. And if it's an A, it's very, very simple. You just commit to it. And Oculus is, based on over 14, 15,000 deals analyzed, and the algorithms are very, very exact. And whether it's a B, whether it's an upside to it, or F, you just push it away. So again, going back to what's happening right now in the marketplace, you're using systems that exist. You're only getting probably about 50% win rates. Is it time to try and look at something else? Again, when the economy is doing well, maybe these are things you don't really want to look about. But when there is an uncertainty, maybe there might be something out there. And what Oculus can do is, I'll just go through this very, very quickly, so you can have an idea of what can be done. Is again, as I said, it's a little bit different from most of the opportunity or the deal scoring systems that are out there, because it gives you a level of clarity and also transparency into each deal. And looking at the four areas, as you can see here, where the opportunities, and you can have the change readiness, and this is absolutely critical in salespeople going after the right deals. Unfortunately, in the 40 years or the 30 years that I've been working as a sales trainer, as a consultant, I've seen too many situations of salespeople looking at deals and says, "Oh yeah, we're going to go ahead and we're going to close this one." They don't even really think about whether the customer is ready, or the potential customer is ready to change. Again, those are the type of things. The other thing is looking at what the customer profile should be. So is the customer profile, if you say change readiness, is, the opportunity, the description itself, are you able to, describe what it is? The ideal customer profile would be what the proposed solution would be. Does that match the readiness, or what the opportunity description that that we're talking about? And the third phase is looking at the buying process, and looking at buying process becoming more and more complex these days, especially with key account management or complex selling or consultative selling, and looking into larger deals where there's more and more people involved. You're really looking at decision processes within the organizations, and also relationships within the organizations. Did they know? And last but not least, you really have to look at the competition, because a lot of the evaluations are done without the competition in mind. It's just our product. So what Oculus does, it really goes into it, and it really is a go no go decision, because if you're not ready in one area, you don't go to the next step. But taking it through one by one, if you look at we can start with the change readiness. And this really measures the company's willingness to change. Are they ready to do things, or are they just happy with the status quo? And if they're just happy with the status quo, don't spend time behind this. It doesn't make sense. Just go to the next account. Go a couple of times, and make sure that this is the first step. So identify what the opportunity is, find out what the interest level is. And if the company is not willing to change, it's something that we really need to take to heart, to make sure that we don't really go after something that can't be impacted. I think this graph probably, or this chart, will explain things. When you're really looking at readiness, there are only about these are studies from sellbetter.com and other, again, sales. They do all these studies. A lot of companies do all these studies. But if you look at a buyer's state of readiness, you're looking at actively looking. They're always looking to change the status quo. There's only about 10% of that, and the passively looking is 20. But really, everybody likes the status quo, and I think that's true in just about everything that humans do. Is we just like the status quo. Very, very few of us are always actively looking to change, or making any type of a change in our life. We're very comfortable, and making a change is always a difficult thing to do. So again, it's the same thing in the sales organization. A lot of buyers, they're happy with the status quo, unless they have some pain points. Then, what type of pain point, and how urgent is it? Those are the things that we really, really need to understand. Are they just looking at it? Are they just, looking through it to see what other options there are? Are they just casually looking through it? or are they something? Is this a hot deal that they have to really make a change because it's affecting their bottom line? So what level? And unless you can really identify this and really understand at what level the customer or the potential customer is looking to change, it becomes just salespeople chasing every deal with the same amount of impact, and that really doesn't work. So again, this is going back to this previous chart. It's really a go no go decision, and then if they're ready to change, great. If they're not, well, maybe need to move on to the next one. But again, it's another rating system or ranking system, and this is where Oculus can excel. The next level is the ideal customer profile gate, and again, this measures how closely the solution that that you have in hand, really matches the potential company or the customer's requirements, and if there's a realistic expectation to it. Again, does your proposed solution match what the customer is looking for? And you have to be realistic about that. And I, as a salesperson, myself, very, very optimistic. So we do have a tendency of saying, yeah, oh yeah, absolutely, this will fit, this will fit. But that's not exactly what the customer is looking for. So, we have to make sure that, we identify this as we go along. Otherwise, what happens is we're going down, a rat hole where, we end up, just chasing, and it's not matching what the customer is looking for. I think if you look at it, I think this is probably one of the best charts in the whole presentation. Is, if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. You just have to, look at it from this point of view and say, okay, it does not fit. So what we really need to do is to, take one step back and say, okay, it does not fit. So we have to move on to the next one and find one that fits. So again, that's the second stage. And this is, again, a go, no-go decision. If it doesn't fit, move on to the next thing. But if it does fit, then what you can really do is look at the third gate, which is the company buying process, the buying process gate. And this is, again, becoming more and more important, especially as sales, especially large sales, anything over, I would say, $50,000, $100,000 to $300,000, or even in a million range. If you're really looking at this, does a sales rep really understand the buying process for the customer, and also who are involved and what type of relationships with these key individuals? Interesting thing here is that I think Miller Heiman has a very, very good system of identifying key relationships, and the strategic selling. They talk about that in detail. Who is your coach? Who's the technical buyer, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the whole idea here. But what Oculus can do is it can really drill down deep into finding out, do we have a relationship with these people at all? Do they really understand it? What type of details do we have? Who's the final decision maker? If you're looking at the buying process these days, the customer decision process is this complicated. I mean, it's an overwhelming chart. But if you really look at it, before they go into paying for the product, they go through many, many stages, get many inputs from different departments, from the users, and it's a very, very complicated process. Unfortunately, what salespeople do a lot of times is they just go to the buyer that they think is the person, and they don't ask the right questions, whether it's a skill or whether it's a method. There's a problem there. So what happens is the buying process is shortchanged, and the relationships are shortchanged. So, I can even say, this is a situation that's going to become even more important as we go along, to identify who the key players are in the decision process, what the decision process is, and especially in key accounts, and especially large accounts that you're selling into, where there's so many different people that are involved. So this is the third gate that the Oculus offers. And again, a no-go decision, go, no-go decision, and then go from there. And last but not least is the competition. If you look at a lot of your CRMs and your opportunity description or your forecasting, competition is usually not included. And what happens is, when you look at the competition, you really have to see how you stand against the competition and if you can beat them. And unless you really look into the details of the competition, it's hard to know, does the competition have a prior relationship with the potential customer? Is there internal competition? is there not only external and internal competition can also be do nothing. So, these are the type of things that you really need to dig into and find out. Do we have any superiority versus the competition? Or, why are the prospects talking to you? What are these potential customers talking to you? When we look at competition, we can't look at it. We can't look at a deal in a vacuum. We have to look at the competition and what the competition landscape is. And Oculus can really dig into that and find out, and whether you do have the right information and you have the right, understanding of what you're going up against. Again, when you're running in a race, you're really looking at what the strengths and weaknesses of each individual person is, and you're trying to make sure that you're going to make. It's not just you're getting to the very beginning by yourself. What you're trying to do is you're making sure that you're going to outperform the competition. So again, these are the fourth step. And again, just as a reminder here, it's the readiness gate. You really have to find out whether the opportunity is really there or not, and then the customer profile, whether your proposed solution is fitting this opportunity or not, and then who are the buyers and what is the decision process, and the competition gate. Again, when we really look at this, it's very important to see that what happens within a deal. It's not just the salespeople. Oh, we think that it's going to happen qualitatively. We think this is what we're doing. You really look at from a quantitative standpoint, and the quantitative standpoint is really looking in the transparency of the deal and looking to see all the aspects of the deal that can impact it. And the interesting thing is, when we did our research here, and Mel can talk a little bit more about it, is when we look at the CSO range, it's a 5-3-2, but with Oculus, it's a 7-2-1 ratio. And Mel, why don't you expand on this a little bit, please, so
Sure.
that everybody can get a better understanding of what this means.
Yeah, happy to. Thanks, Ziya. From the earlier slide, we saw the CSO. They had a 50% win rate. The RAIN group said 47. It's about 50%. So if you look at the ratios, for every 10 deals that salespeople are pursuing, they'll win 5, they'll lose 3, and 2 will slip. So what we found by utilizing Oculus, it basically comes down to that for every 10 deals, you're going to win 2 more using Oculus. The number of lost deals will drop, and the number of slip deals will drop. And so what's happening is, if you think of the gating process that Ziya spoke about, is we start eliminating those deals that that the consultants call bad deals. But they're just either not ready, or we don't have a solution that matches the requirements. And the key thing is, with Oculus, because of its qualitative nature, the numbers are very clear. And it's, they're not ready to move, they're happy with the status quo, or your solution doesn't match the requirements. So it becomes very clear, and basically the salespeople can't kid themselves anymore. We've heard about salespeople only hearing what they want to hear, happy ears, or not asking the tough questions. Oculus, captures that data and it validates it, and is brutally honest with the results. This client's not going to, or this prospect's not going to move, or you don't have a good fit, or you can't beat the competition. And it's very, very clear, and under those circumstances, you act accordingly.
Okay, great. Yeah. Anyway, thanks, Mel. I appreciate that. And the interesting thing is, I have my own practice, sales training, sales consulting, and I've used this, and I have to say, it's a great reminder of certain things, about the competition, or about who the key, buyers are. And even as a salesperson, who has 34 years experience, we do tend to get into bad habits, and Oculus kind of keeps you grounded. and make sure that you're focusing on the deals and also the information that you need to make sure. So I mean, not just as a person who's promoting Oculus at the same time, but also as a person who's using it. I think it's a very, very interesting tool in that. But at the end of the day, here's our offer to you. And I wouldn't be a salesman if I didn't make an offer to you at the very end. And as Mel likes to put it, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Now, it's if you say that fast 10 times or 5 times, you get tongue-tied. But I think everybody understands. So what we can do for you is we'll score and rank 3 of your deals that you're working on right now. And it's interesting because if you really look at the deals that you're going to close at the end of the year, are you really going to close it? Should you really be even pursuing these, or should you drop it, or should push it into the next quarter? Depending on the corporation, it might be a little late, but again, we'll be more than happy to score 3 and rank 3 of your deals and talk to you about these deals and where your, the good points, the bad points, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're very interested, please make sure you can contact me at Ziya Muhamedcani at madisonsfe.com. And I think there's my phone number there, 650-678-6081. Please feel free to contact me, and we can get you set up with this. So at the end of the day, the next step, it's up to you. And what are the next steps? And what we tried to do here today, again, it was an hour, but I don't like to keep the webinars too long. I know you're all busy, so we'll wind it down here at this point. But I hope we were able to at least bring up some points on what the future might hold. I mean, we're all hearing all this news about the future, what's going to happen economically. Nobody really knows. There's a lot of uncertainty out there. So what are you going to do about it? Because as Einstein said, doing the same thing over and over again and hoping for different results. It's probably a lot of maybe 70, 80, 90% of what's happening right now. But is that what's working for you? And are the tools that are using right now, is that giving you the results that you're looking for, or are there some other things? And hopefully, on the little short segment that we did on, Oculus, maybe there is a new tool out there that you might be interested in finding out a little bit more. But, thank you very much for your time. We do appreciate it. If you have any, thank you. It was, something that was fun to put together, yet at the same time, I think it's relevant in today's market. And if there are any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer it. Mel would be more than happy to answer it. So let me just open that up, and we can keep it up, at this point in time. So if there are any questions, I think there's Mel. You can tell me. You're the technical guy, so yeah.
Okay. Just enter. There's at the bottom of the screen, you'll see a Zoom meeting taskbar comes up, and there's a chat line. Just if you want to ask a question, just enter it in there, and if not, don't worry about it. The other thing I should point out too is we will make the recording available to you, and so if there's a couple of things that you want to go over, and you have Ziya's phone number. Ziya, if I could recommend that you go back a couple of slides and just
this one right there? Sure.
Yeah, that Ziya's contact information. Please feel free to contact him if questions, or if you'd like to take him up on take us up on our offer. We would be more than happy to look at some of your deals and let you know what your next steps should be.
And if you want these slides or anything like that, let me know, and then I can just forward them to you too. All right?
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions out there? Anybody is interested in questions or anything come up?
No, everybody seems to be happy.
I hope so. Anyway, if there isn't anything, feel free to call me anytime or contact me, email or telephone. But again, thank you so very much all for your time. Appreciate it. I know you have busy schedules, and some people who want to come on says, hey, can we do this at a later time? Again, everybody, there's a conflict of schedule, but thank you so very much for your time. I appreciate it. Mel, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
I hope we're able to give a little bit of value for the 40 minutes that you spent with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. It was a privilege talking to you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye now.